Hello, in this video we'll be talking about bow technique. Now let's talk about our arm movement of the bow. So before you even start, you want to make sure you have a good bow hold. And if you're having trouble with your bow hold, you can go back to my video 3 that I made and check up on your bow hold. Now that you have your good bow hold, let's now move on to our arm movement. So generally when you play and do your bow motions, you don't want this part of the arm to go like this, like side to side. You want your elbow to just open up and go back in while having that straight arm right here. So because of that, you will also be parallel to the bird because you will have a straight bow. So it would look something like this. Notice how I only open my elbow up and out, and then going back in, making sure my bow is parallel to the bridge to have a straight bow. Now let's establish parts of the bow. So this area right here would be the frog, and then wherever your bow balances on your finger would be like the balance point, which is like the sweet spot of the bow. This part right here would be the middle, and this part right here would be the tip. So if you want to play mezzo forte to forte, you will generally play around the middle to frog area, and if you want to play piano, you can generally play from the middle to the tip. Now let's talk about bow weight. Bow weight is very important to producing a good sound on the viola, and bow weight is very different from pressure. Pressure means that you're forcing sound and putting forced weight onto the viola, and you don't want that. You only want your arm weight on your viola. So if you have your arm weight on your viola like this, your bow should like resist moving down and up. So it's like cranking. This is the reason stopping it from moving, because I have my arm weight on my bow. Now let's talk about bow speed. Bow weight is a contribution to the bow speed. So generally before you start, make sure you have your bow kind of placed between the middle to the frog area. So like the balance point, this just secures you in having a good start. So first, make sure you have your arm weight. Make sure you're not forcing any weight on your viola, just your arm weight. Make sure you're going to pull with a good speed so you don't get any weird sounds. So something like this. Now, that was just fast enough to have a good sound, but if you do it too slow, you're going to get some weird creaky sound like this. And that's from going way too slow. Also, whenever you are pulling your bow out to make sound with your arm, make sure you're also using your wrist. So whenever you're pulling it out, you kind of bend your wrist like this a little bit. And whenever you go up, you should move your wrist up a little bit. But you should not be using your fingers to move your bow up and down. You should only use your wrist and your arm. So you should not be doing this, like with your fingers, but something like this. So as you can see, whenever I'm moving down, my wrist is bending a little bit like this. Whenever I'm going up, I'm moving my wrist up like this, but I'm not really using my fingers to help with this motion. Now let's talk about angles of the arm in correlation with the bow. So whenever you're on the A string, your arm is close to the side of your body to be in contact with the A string. But to be in contact with the D string, you have to be a little more up with your arm, just like this. And on the G string, you have to go up a little more. And on the C string, you really have to be up there. This is important to making good contact with the bow and your string, and this will make sure that you don't get any extra string sound whenever you're on a specific string level. An exercise you can do to help you with everything we just covered in this video can be long tone bowings. So this exercise you can do to each string or any string, but for now I'm going to be doing it on the D string. And make sure your arm weight is on the viola bow, make sure your arm is straight, make sure your bow is parallel to the bridge, make sure your angle of the arm is in correlation with the D string, and you're just going to also make sure that your bow is placed in between the frog and the middle of the bow. And you're going to pull and do maybe 4 strokes, or however many strokes you want to do. So, like this. I'm making sure my bow is straight and I'm covering everything that I just went over in this video. And you can do this on any string as well. If you think you're still not comfortable and you think you're not doing it right, try going in front of a mirror and looking at how you're pulling your arm and doing all these movements so you can learn from what you're doing wrong or doing right. Now let's look at some basic bow articulation such as legato, staccato, and spiccato. So first we have legato, which is just long connected separated bow strokes such as this. Next we have staccato, which is short separated bow strokes, but it is on the string, so something like this. Now we have spiccato, which is exactly the same as staccato, but it is off the string, so something like this. I'm kind of bouncing off the string, but it is still short and separated bow strokes. Now that we have went over these 3 articulations, you can practice each articulation on each string level and factor in all the material we learned in this video. So hopefully after you watch this video, you now understand more about the bow and you're more confident with your viola playing.